Adrian Hale never imagined his life would one day revolve around the quiet blinking lights in the corners of every room. Yet here he was, long after midnight, sitting alone on the living room sofa, eyes locked on the glowing screens of his security monitors. The house was still, wrapped in the kind of silence that felt heavier than noise. Outside, the wind brushed softly against the windows, but inside, everything seemed frozen in time. He should have been asleep. He should have been dreaming. Instead he was watching. Waiting. Hoping he would see nothing unusual, and terrified that he might. His daughter Lily slept down the hallway beneath a soft white nightlight shaped like a star. 7 years old. Bright smile. Beautiful spirit. Paralyzed from the waist down. Adrian had spent months learning how to help her dress, eat, move, how to be her strength when her body could no longer be. But even love had limits and exhaustion was slowly winning. He had hired someone new to help, a young caretaker named Marissa. Kind voice, gentle manner, calm confidence. She had arrived only days ago, and yet Lily had already begun to laugh a little more, speak a little more, trust a little more. But trust was complicated. Adrian knew it too well. His heart still carried the weight of every disappointment, every broken promise, every moment when people claimed they could handle the responsibility, only to walk away. The cameras were his last line of protection, the only thing he believed he could rely on. He told himself they were for Lily's safety. But deep down he knew they were for his own peace of mind. Tonight felt different. Something inside him whispered that the truth he had been avoiding was closer than ever. He leaned forward, breath unsteady, eyes fixed on the screen showing Lily's room. Marissa stood beside her bed in the dim glow of the nightlight, unaware she was being watched. Adrian's pulse quickened. One small moment was about to change everything. The next morning, sunlight poured through the kitchen windows, illuminating the polished marble counters and the soft hum of a quiet house beginning to wake. Adrian stood by the sink, hands wrapped around a mug of untouched tea. He kept replaying what he had seen on the screen, Marissa leaning over Lily's bed, whispering something he couldn't hear. Lily had smiled in her sleep, as if comforted by a dream or by the sound of a voice she trusted. Nothing seemed wrong, yet something about the moment clung to him, urging him to look deeper. He wondered what Marissa had said. Why she stayed by Lily's side so late. Why she hadn't left the room when Lily drifted off. Footsteps echoed softly through the hall. Marissa appeared in the doorway, carrying Lily in her arms with ease and care, as though she had known her far longer than a few days. Lily giggled, her small fingers gripping Marissa's shoulder. Adrian's heart swelled and tightened all at once. He wanted to feel relief, to believe he had finally found the right person to help. But trust, once broken, was not easy to rebuild. As breakfast continued, Adrian noticed things he hadn't before. The way Marissa spoke to Lily with warmth and patience. How she placed food in front of her slowly, making sure Lily could see and smell each bite before bringing it to her mouth. How she paused to make eye contact, waiting for Lily's signal. It was more than a job to her. It looked like love. Real love. But love could be misleading. People could pretend. Smiles could hide motives. Adrian reminded himself to stay cautious, even as something inside him wanted to soften. When Marissa stepped into the hallway to answer her phone, Adrian turned toward Lily. Her eyes sparkled. "Daddy, she makes me feel brave," she whispered. The words were gentle but powerful enough to echo through Adrian's chest. For the first time in a long while, hope felt closer than fear, and that frightened him even more. Later that night, the house slipped into silence once again. Adrian sat alone in his study, surrounded by shelves lined with awards and framed achievements, symbols of a life filled with certainty and control. Yet he felt more unsure than ever. The cameras, which once offered reassurance, now felt like windows into questions he wasn't ready to ask. Still, curiosity tugged at him with quiet insistence. He clicked into the video files from earlier that day and watched as Marissa guided Lily through her afternoon routine. What he saw made him lean forward in surprise. There was a moment when Lily struggled to lift her cup. Her hands trembled and she grew frustrated. Instead of stepping in immediately, Marissa knelt beside her, speaking softly but firmly, encouraging her to try again. Lily breathed deeply, steadied her grip, and lifted the cup on her own. The look on her face, pure triumph, shone brighter than any light in the room. Adrian's throat tightened. He had spent years believing Lily needed protection from every difficulty, every challenge, every risk. But Marissa saw something different. She saw strength, potential, possibility. Later in the footage, Marissa spoke to Lily about dreams, how they grow, how they change, how they don't disappear just because life shifts in unexpected ways. Lily listened with wide eyes, legs tucked beneath a blanket. She asked questions, laughed, and even tried new exercises, pushing herself further than Adrian had seen in months. It was as though Marissa had gently opened a door Lily didn't know she could reach. And yet, another scene replayed in Adrian's mind. After Lily fell asleep, Marissa returned to her room. She sat beside her and tenderly brushed strands of hair away from her face. She whispered again, those same quiet words Adrian couldn't hear. Then she wiped her eyes and pressed a small, worn photograph to her chest before placing it gently under Lily's pillow. Adrian paused the footage, heart racing. Who was in that picture? Why did Marissa cry? And why, for the first time in years, did the unknown feel less frightening, and more like a mystery he needed to solve? The next day arrived with a quiet tension Adrian couldn't shake. He tried to act normal, answering emails, making phone calls, moving through his routines, but his mind never left the image of that photograph hidden beneath Lily's pillow. It felt like a missing piece in a puzzle he didn't yet understand. When Lily went outside for fresh air with Marissa, Adrian slipped into her room. The soft scent of lavender filled the air, and the morning light cast gentle patterns across the blankets. With hesitant fingers he reached beneath the pillow. The photograph was still there. He turned it over slowly. It showed a young girl, smiling brightly in a wheelchair, holding a trophy close to her chest. She looked proud, confident, full of joy. On the back, in neat handwriting, were 4 simple words: "You're stronger than fear." Adrian stared at the picture, struck by how closely the girl resembled Marissa. Could it be her? A sister? A friend? Whoever she was, the message was powerful enough to echo through his chest. Suddenly, footsteps approached and Adrian quickly returned the photograph, heart racing. Marissa stepped into the room, surprised to see him there. Their eyes met and for a moment neither spoke. She smiled gently, unsure. "Is something wrong?" she asked. Adrian opened his mouth, ready to question her, ready to uncover the truth he'd been chasing. But Lily wheeled into the room, her face glowing with excitement. "Daddy? I did it," she exclaimed. "I moved my foot a little." She pointed eagerly at her leg. She had been practicing stretching exercises with Marissa each day, and now she proudly showed small movement, a tiny shift but a meaningful one. Adrian knelt down, eyes widening in disbelief. It wasn't just a physical milestone. It was hope. Real, undeniable hope. He looked up at Marissa and she nodded with quiet encouragement. "She's working so hard," she said softly. "There's more strength in her than anyone realizes." Adrian felt something unfamiliar rise within him, not skepticism or fear but gratitude. Yet beneath that warmth, the questions remained, simmering gently like embers waiting to spark. The girl in the photograph, the late-night whispering, the emotion he saw on Marissa's face. There was a story there, and something told him it was both deeply personal and deeply important. That evening, the house glowed with warmth in a way Adrian hadn't felt in years. Lily hummed a cheerful tune as Marissa helped her choose pajamas, and laughter floated through the hallway like music. It was beautiful and unfamiliar. Adrian watched from the doorway, feeling something inside him loosen. Yet even as joy filled the air, a question lingered quietly in the background, waiting for attention. He could no longer ignore it. He needed to understand who Marissa truly was and why she cared so deeply. When Lily finally drifted to sleep, Adrian approached Marissa in the living room. She sat near the window, sorting folded laundry with slow, careful movements. The moonlight cast soft shadows across her face, making her look both peaceful and distant, like someone holding gentle memories close and painful memories closer. Adrian sat across from her, heart beating steadily. "Earlier," he began softly, "I saw the photograph under Lily's pillow." Marissa paused, her hands stilling above the folded shirts. She lifted her gaze, her expression neither frightened nor defensive, only calm. "I thought you might," she said quietly. "Most people notice things left in plain sight." Adrian waited, unsure what she meant. Marissa drew in a breath and continued. "The girl in that photograph is my younger sister, Clara. She lost the ability to walk when she was 9. Her voice trembled slightly, the first sign of vulnerability he had seen. Doctors said she would never regain movement. They said she'd be dependent forever. But she refused to believe that. She worked every single day, pushing herself past what seemed possible." Adrian leaned forward, captivated. "She passed away 2 years later," Marissa went on gently. "But she never lost hope. She used to tell me that strength doesn't always mean standing. Sometimes it means choosing to keep going when everything feels impossible. I keep her photograph close to remind myself, and others, that hope doesn't disappear, even in difficulty." Silence fell, rich with meaning. Adrian felt his heart soften, piece by piece as he absorbed her words. Now he understood the tears, the late-night whispering, the look in her eyes. She wasn't hiding something harmful. She was carrying someone she loved. Then Marissa added something that took Adrian completely by surprise. I believe Lily can grow stronger than anyone expects. She just needs someone to believe with her. Her words settled deeply into Adrian's heart. For the first time he realized the cameras might show truth, but they could never show intention. And maybe intention was what mattered most. That night, long after Marissa had gone to her room and the house had settled into gentle stillness, Adrian returned to the monitors, not out of suspicion but out of habit. The screens glowed softly in the dark, showing each room bathed in quiet shadows. He paused on the feed from Lily's room, expecting to see only a peaceful child sleeping. Instead he saw movement. Lily's foot twitched beneath the blanket, small but unmistakable. Her toes curled slightly then relaxed again. Adrian stared in wonder, hardly daring to believe his eyes. Hope surged through him, bright and overwhelming. It wasn't a dream. Lily was changing. She was fighting. She was growing stronger. He leaned back in his chair, breath shaking, and looked around the room. The cameras, once his constant source of fear, now felt like something entirely different. They had shown him more than safety, they had shown him truth. A truth he almost missed because he had been too afraid to trust. Quiet footsteps approached from behind. Adrian turned, startled to find Marissa standing in the doorway, wrapped in a sweater, eyes soft with concern. I couldn't sleep, she admitted with a gentle smile. I heard you moving around. She walked to the screen, gaze landing on Lily's small movement. Her eyes filled with warmth. It's happening sooner than I thought, she whispered. Adrian felt the weight of his past worries and doubts dissolve. He looked at Marissa not as an employee, not as a stranger, but as someone who had helped open a door he never believed existed. Someone who brought light into a home that had lived too long in shadows. He thought of the photograph under Lily's pillow. Clara's smile. Marissa's strength. Lily's triumph. It all connected in a way that felt profound. The next morning, as the sun rose and filled the house with soft golden light, Adrian gathered the courage to do something he hadn't done in years. He unplugged the monitors one by one, letting the screens fade to black. Not because he no longer cared, but because he finally trusted what he cared for most. Lily stirred awake, her eyes fluttering open. When she saw her father, she reached her arms toward him, excitement lighting up her face. Daddy, I can feel my legs, she whispered. He held her close, tears slipping down his cheeks, not from sadness but from overwhelming gratitude. Marissa stood nearby, smiling quietly, her hand pressed lovingly over her heart. Adrian looked at her and nodded, a silent promise of faith. The house, once filled with uncertainty, now brimmed with possibility. And for the first time in a long while, Adrian felt the future open wide in front of them, filled with strength, love, and a hope brighter than anything he had ever imagined.